Hello everyone and welcome to my hobby home. My name is Cathy. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am finishing the Presley's Dream. And if you stay to the end of it, you will see what my thumbnail is about. I will also give you not really the measurements. My machine's about to make a noise. It's cutting on. You will see the adjustments. I will tell you the adjustments that I did without giving you the measurements. So let's get started. We know our Presley's Dream starts with an Ohio star block, and I'm just going to lay this up here and take my second block and fold it up. The second row starts with a Lemoyne frayed chain block. So making sure it's going in the correct direction. And I have not pressed anything out, which I probably should. I'm not going to. I'll press it down with my finger and then pin it. And all I'm going to do is just pin that, pin it at the seams. Make sure it nests and pin it at the seams. And I'm going to pin the first or the front side of it down so that will be going the correct direction. I'm lining up that seam and just pressing the seams down to make sure they nest. And I will pin along the way too. Okay, so I got all those seams pinned. So now what I'm going to do is just come up here, but I'm going to just go on and pin these just to kind of hold things into place. And I will let y'all know, I don't know if I'm more disappointed in myself or the pattern, because there's a, you know, the cutting instructions missing some is one thing, and the measurements is something else. Those are things that you can recover from. There's another big in the pattern. And I will tell you at the end of the, you know, once I'm done sewing it all together, because I want you to be able to see it. And it is noticeable. But you know what? There's nothing I can do about it at this point. It is what it is. I don't have the time to take it apart and do it again. So it just is what it is. But I will show y'all what it is. So if you have not done the Creative Notions Presley's Dream, maybe you will be able to keep from having the boo-boo that I had. You know, and like I said, it could be a me problem, because you know how they always say they always say to read all the instructions before you begin. Well, this is definitely that case. But what I'm doing right now, I am just putting all my rows together, and we only have 5 rows. So that shouldn't take too long, because, you know, here's 2 right here, which means we only have 3 more to add. And honestly, with what the other era is, I'm not going to worry if anything matches. I'm really not. I'm honestly over this pattern. But I'm getting it done. I've seen enough of the blocks side by side to realize there's not going to be enough contrast. You know, first off, it's going to look like I have a red quilt. And you're not going to be able to see the frayed chain, because there's not going to be one. But this will be a good quilt that my grandbaby can play on or something like that. I don't know what it's going to end up being, where it's going to go. but I will finish it out. And get it somewhere. And I really hate they did this pattern as the one for their challenge, because the pattern itself is a challenge. And you know, it just kind of makes me wonder if they don't have pattern testers, because this is something a pattern tester would have easily caught. I mean, a pattern tester would have caught the cutting instructions. A pattern tester would have caught the size discrepancies. A pattern tester would have, well, actually, the cutting instructions, it was missing several pieces of fabric that needed to be cut. So, okay, so here's 2. And I will press this out before I do this. And yeah, there is one good thing about this pattern. How the rows are. All you had to do was put rows together and alternate the things. Because if this don't work, this will work. So, I mean, you could flip it either way, I think, and it would still work. But I don't want to have too long of a video tonight, because I do want to get y'all those. I'm not going to say corrections, because I don't really know what their intention was with the cutting instructions and the measurements being off. But I will tell you what I did. And I just noticed here somehow I sewed down that edge to the thing. So I'm going to have to unstitch it. And I may have to hand stitch that one. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to throw it on the machine right here. I will have to check all of my seams and stuff to make sure. That's how you fix problems. You just undo it and redo it. The big, you know, the main seams are matching and nesting up. So I'm making sure those do nest up. And then I come back and just kind of put a few pins in the middle just to make sure it all stays laying flat and stays together, because I don't want to have where fabric has pulled apart, not sewn it together. You know, I have that problem, and I don't like that I have that problem, but so what I try to do is just, this is a new thing that I've been doing, is pinning all along, because when you have a quilt that you drop off at the long arm and you're starting to look at it and you realize half of one whole side did not stitch down because the fabrics separated and slid, you just kind of start pinning. And I do need to go see Miss Ava. I don't know what they got, and I miss going and visiting and seeing what they got going on. I think tomorrow they have Duckworth going on. I think every Friday they get together and work on their Duckworth quilts. I don't have a Duckworth going on, so I don't go up there and sew with them. I really should. I should go sew with the ladies, but I just don't. It all boils down to having time, and talking about time, I think, I'm not real sure. Y'all will be seeing this on Friday, so y'all won't be able to catch this, but I think Tammy has a live going tonight. Now, y'all always hear me talk about Tammy. I love catching her lives. And if anybody I catch a lot of lives, but a lot of time I'm catching them while I'm sewing. So I'm not commenting. But I just want people to know I'm there. I'm just not commenting. I don't know. I won't be sewing tonight on hers because I'm recording right now. And this is all I'm sewing tonight. I just wanted to make sure to get this one put together tonight. So I will have the top. If nothing else, I will have the top. I'm going to try to quilt it, back it, quilt it. this weekend. I don't know how the grandbaby situation is going to go. I haven't talked to my son and his wife yet about keeping my granddaughter. I mean, the plan is that I have her at least one weekend a month, at one night. They don't do very good with more than one night. For me to have her at least one night a month. And it's kind of funny because I saw them last weekend, and it was my daughter-in-law's sister's birthday weekend, and they were at, her mom and her sister were at the Celtic festival for her sister's birthday. Well, my son is like, no, my daughter is not going to a festival. And he's like, the last festival I went to, I got kidnapped. Or snatched is what he said. And he's not lying. He was a baby. He was walking. He was probably about 3 years old. And his granny, his daddy's mama, had him. And he wasn't feeling well. I mean, he was just really not feeling well. It was summer. It was hot. He wasn't feeling well. And she didn't carry a stroller with her. And she had set him on the ground or stood him on the ground and was crying. And somebody came and swooped him up. Let me tell you, that is every mother's worst nightmare. And they did not tell me it happened until after the fact. And it was very hard. Because at the time, his dad and I, my children's dad and I had already divorced. It happens. We were both young when we got married and had children. And it didn't work out. I didn't know until, now this happened early on in the day. And I didn't know it happened. He obviously was old enough to remember it. So he was probably about 5 maybe. But his granny had told me, he said, what had happened, he was there crying. And a lady just came and grabbed him and goes running with him to the police station. And what's even worse is my children's granny, she is a heart patient. She has a bad heart. And her sister is an amputee. So she's got an artificial leg. And can you imagine these two women chasing after somebody with a child screaming? And when they told me, I'm glad they waited to tell me, because I would have gone to jail. Because the woman that snatched my child, I would have snatched her. Because his granny was standing right there. And that's what she kept saying. She was like, I was standing right there. She was making a purchase. There was a lady there that always makes soap. And she always purchased some, it was, I don't remember if it was like goat soap or something. But she always purchased soap from this lady. And she was trying to make her purchase. That was like the only thing she went there for. And my son was crying. And in order to make a purchase, she had to get her wallet out of her purse. And so she stood him on the ground right next to her. And he might have stepped away from her. But the person was a worker of the festival. But when they told me, I was livid. And this was in my younger days, where I didn't mind throwing hands. I don't do that no more. I'm grown and a lot more responsible than that now. But then, I don't know. I would probably still throw hands now over my grandbabies. I may not win, but I'm going to make somebody know I'm there, you know. But I was young, and he was my last child. He was the baby and my only son. And he was the light of my life. He so precious. My son still is to this day. I love my girls. Don't get me wrong. I do love my girls very, very much. I actually had dinner with one of them tonight. Had dinner with her fiance, and her baby. I love all my kids, you know. You love your children differently, though. You have, you know, like my oldest one, she's so independent. And, you know, she can take care of herself. I saw her last weekend. And she was a little sick. She had a little head cold going on. But she said she had worked 7 days straight and was ready for a day off. And she was going to sleep the whole day. You know, take some medicine and just go to bed and sleep off the head cold. Well, come to find out, you know, my husband had it. Come to find out, my daughter's fiance was sick with the same stuff as well. And all three of them have not been around one another. And I'm sitting here going, y'all, I catch everything, especially head cold wise, that comes through. And I noticed I have been having trouble breathing here lately. So I've been watching that. So if y'all hear me take a gasp, first off, this little mic, it picks everything up. Especially when I take a breath in. I don't know how it does it, but it picks it up. But like right now, I'm having to take a deep breath because I'm just not getting enough air. I am doing, you know, my inhaler stuff that I'm supposed to do when that happens. We're trying not to have to start the breathing treatments, but because I don't sleep at all when I do breathing treatments. But I will do one if I need to. I don't sleep much anyway, I say. I don't know. This week I've come in and taken a nap almost every day. Somebody told me next week, which I didn't notice it. Somebody said next week we may need our heat. And I'm like, ain't no way I'm going to need heat until it's about 40 degrees. And I do not cut my heat on until my house gets to about 55. And it's there for more than a day. Because then my house will start getting cool. But other than that, no. And I may burn a little wood in the fireplace then. Oh, I know who it was that was telling me that today. We had a new generator put in on our building that I work in last week. And when they put it in, they have to cut off the electricity and the gas and all to everything. Well, and when they cut the gas off, the pilot light went out on our shop heater, which it is set to come on at 65, I think. And yesterday morning, I think it was 59 degrees. Yeah, I'm looking because I thought I heard somebody in my door. I was checking to make sure my door wasn't opening. But it was 59 degrees yesterday morning, and it didn't kick on. So they started looking at it, and they realized the pilot light on it was out. So I had to make a work request for our facility manager to come out and look at the heater on the shop. And y'all, I never go. Well, I go in the shop, but I didn't even know where the heater to the shop was. It's a big old heater that hangs off the ceiling. Had no clue. And then they start asking me where the key is to it. I'm like, I have no idea. I just handed the guy my basket of keys. I'm like, find it. If you can find it. He's like, no, it looks like a master key. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, luckily, my supervisor had it in his desk. I didn't know he had keys like that in his desk, but and my supervisor is off of work right now. Because he ended up having surgery. So, you know, he's off just for a little while to recuperate. But I was like a goose with my head cut off today, because I'm like, I don't know where what you're looking for is at. I didn't even know it existed. And so, yeah, I've had the week I've had with my supervisor gone. And it could be because normally he fields a lot of that stuff, so I don't have to deal with it. So we're kind of like the blind leading the blind some days up there. And my boss's boss, or I don't know if it's his boss, but it's his backup. He came over today because he had made some purchases and he wanted to give me the receipts so I could do what I had to do with them. And I had to document them into our system. I had to create a work order for each receipt and then attach that receipt to the work order. And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't do this often enough. And I'm like, I never do it. I said, all I know is, you know, how my supervisor does it. I'm like, normally what I do, I just write the work order on there, put our unit number on it, and then scan it to him. I said, I think what he does with it is he attaches it to the credit card system so they can see the receipt and see that, you know, it was something purchased for the unit. And I told him, I was like, and then what I do is I just store them in a folder until the beginning of the month when he prints his credit card statement off. And then I attach all the originals to the credit card statement. And he's like, well, you know more about it than I do. I'm like, no, I don't. I know the movement of the receipts, but I don't have a clue about the credit card system because I had one a couple years ago and I used it one time. And then I quit using it because I didn't want it anymore because it is a headache to have one. And I shouldn't have one anyway, because the only thing I would be buying for our unit is things like cleaning supplies and toilet paper and paper towels and paper cups for coffee or coffee. You know, I wouldn't be buying other stuff. But so that's our 4th row, and now we're on our 5th row, so we're doing another white block here at the end. But I was so happy to see my daughter's fiance was in. His baby was so excited to see him. He had his daddy. Oh, he was so happy. And I think his daddy was happy to have him too. I had talked to my daughter before we met him at the restaurant, and I asked her, I'm like, what kind of food do you have for him in your bag? And she's like, honestly, Mom, I don't think I have anything in there, because he stays at a babysitter, and she provides the babysitter with a case of like baby foods at a time, and so she doesn't have to pack any in her bag. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just grab something. I'll grab something out of my pantry, because I keep food here. So I grabbed him some beef, and it was almost like pot roast. It was beef and potatoes and something else. Whew, you would have thought that I was giving that baby chocolate cake. He was going after that. His mama could not get that in his mouth fast enough. He loved it. I was telling my husband, I'm like, those things are expensive though, because they're organic baby foods. There's no sugar, no dyes, none of that stuff in it. I make sure of that because my son is very sensitive to the dyes in foods, and technically I had him when he was growing up on an autism diet, and that helped control his ADHD. And to this day, if he eats like that, he don't have any problems. If he does not eat processed foods and eats natural foods, he has no problems whatsoever. So I try to make sure I don't give that to my grandson, because I remember what it was like when my son had it, and that was a battle I did not want to have. And I don't want my daughter and her fiance to have it either. I just don't want them to have it. Because if I'm able to not give him something like that, then I'm going to not give it to him. If I can give him something that's healthier, that is what I'm going to do. Because why would I sit here and be doing all of this detox and all that stuff just to give him all these processed foods? I'm not going to do that, because I want him to eat really clean as well. But it's so hard to eat clean, because you think about it, you can't use any kind of cooking oils that are seed oils. And almost everything that's affordable is a seed oil. Because I remember at one time, you know, it was, oh, canola is the best oil it is. That is out of corn. Corn is awful. It tastes delicious. Corn does. But it's not good for you. I was always told when the corn was introduced to the Native Americans, that's when Native Americans didn't have health problems. But after the corn was introduced to them, that they started having things like scurvy, which I think is a vitamin deficiency or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a medical person, so I don't know. You know, to me, I was like, well, that's just goes to show that it's really not good for you. And now they're having, I think they call it bioengineered food. That's fake food, y'all. That's not even real meat. I've seen that on a couple things in the freezer section, and if you look at the Beyond Meat, that's not real food. Now if you get something that's vegetarian, like a black bean burger or something like that, that's different. That is, but don't get that bioengineered meat. That is not good for you at all. But anyway, I get off track so easy talking about my grandbaby. Oh, yep, that one's right. Making sure I'm turning the seams right. Y'all, I am almost finished. Can you believe it? I will have to press out my quilt top. I'm not going to though before I show you. I'm just going to show you. Then I'm going to pull my pattern and tell you the things that you need to add or change on the pattern. Okay, I am done with the quilt top. Woo, 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 woo. Yay me. So this is the quilt top. I know that is going to be hard to see. See, there's not a, what? How did that one? Oh no, I put the wrong, okay. I put the wrong thing in the middle. I was supposed to put that, but I'm not going to change it. But I want you to see. This here. Even on this red down here, you can't really tell the difference. The white, there's no contrast. I did not get extra of this fabric, which I should have, because that's what needed to go here. And I probably have another one down there like that. Yeah, I think I'm probably going to have four blocks like that. So guys, this is my Creative Notions Presley's Dream quilt. And now what I'm going to do is pull out my instructions. I'm not telling you the size or anything. I'm just telling you what to add, what to change. Under the cutting instructions of the Ohio Star, it does not tell you to cut the white squares. If you look over to the right side of the page, you will see where it says white, red, cut 5 of these squares for half square triangles. You also need to cut the white ones. You need to cut 5 white ones. It does not tell you that. On the right hand side where it says red, white, number 2 for the center square, it only tells you to cut 5 of those. You need to cut 10 of those. Cutting instructions for the Lemoyne Frey chain. The very first one, the red/white, it only tells you to cut 3 of the size by width of fabric. You need to cut 5 of them. Then below that, it's the white and red. It tells you to cut 1 by width of fabric. For the 4-patch blocks, you need 5. And then you need to, the next one below that, you need to cut 2 by width of fabric. And that's for center block 4-patch. And the very next one below that, it's telling you to subcut your rectangles. The first measurement is going to stay. The second measurement is going to be 1/2 inch smaller. And then the red, white, number 2, you need to cut 2 of the red, white, number 2 instead of 1. You need 2. And this is where I'm very disappointed. I am going to insert pictures probably across the whole screen. I don't know. But I'm going to show you what the instructions say to do. And then I am, for some reason, I have my mystery star quilt pattern here. And then I'm going to show you what the actual quilt looks like or should look like. In this picture here, you're going to see figure H. Now, I want you to pay attention to the direction that the chain is going on all 4 corners. They're all going the same direction, top left, bottom right. Now, in this next picture, you are going to see that is not the case. The top left should be top left, bottom right, but the top right corner should be top right, bottom left. So it makes a chain. Well, if you remember, my quilt did not make a chain, but there's not enough contrast to even tell that it's supposed to be one. So that is where I am highly disappointed in this quilt. Because I'm following the figure H that it tells me to. I hadn't even looked at the back. And this is the back. Now, there is a lot of contrast in there. They should have used a smaller print, a low volume. Did not. So, now it looks all janky. All of the red in this pattern is, in this right here, is the same exact piece of fabric. All of the red. All of the white. Now, we do have a solid white background, but all of the printed white is a low volume with red in it. The white that we had was not low volume by any means. It was a white with red print. So, guys, I really thank you for coming and joining me today just to see this. I hope this helps you. If you want to do the Presley's Dream, those are some of the things to pay attention to. I would definitely change out the fabrics. I would do, if you're doing a red print, use the same red print for every single red. And then for the white, now I haven't put the borders on. I honestly do not know if I'm going to put them on. I have to though, don't I? To quilt it and finish it, I have to. But I would get a low volume white with red for sure. And pay attention to the direction of your little squares so they make a chain. And so they make a frayed chain. But guys, thank you so much. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. I do hope you have enjoyed this. I do try to respond to each and every comment personally. And as always, until I see you again, I hope you have a very blessed day. Goodbye.